Majority Leader steps down. The number 2 Republican in the House taken down in what was supposed to be an easy primary. Now the power struggle in leadership begins. This is Special Report. Good evening, I'm Brett Baer. Perhaps the most succinct reaction to last night's out-of-the-blue primary loss for House Majority Leader Eric Cantor came when a senior GOP source told Fox News, quote, "Members are freaking out right now." We have Fox team coverage tonight. Correspondent Doug McKelway in Richmond, where Cantor's district, along with much of the country, is still in political shock tonight. But we begin with chief political correspondent Carl Cameron here in studio with the Republican Party in serious influx tonight.
Brett, House Republicans are planning to have an election a week from tomorrow to pick a new majority leader to replace Eric Cantor.
In the wake of his stunning primary loss to economics professor Dave Bratt, Cantor announced he would step aside as the House number 2 Republican at the end of next month.
Now, while I intend to serve out my term as a member of Congress from the 7th District of Virginia, effective July 31st, I will be stepping down as Majority Leader.
The GOP hopes Cantor's decision to vacate his leadership post will provide time for an orderly transition and prevent an ugly and divisive internal power struggle. Some want the election as soon as possible to minimize fallout and distractions during this midterm election year. House Speaker John Boehner has chosen the 19th of this month for an election for a new majority leader. Already, House Republican Whip Kevin McCarthy of California is planning to run for that job.
If my dear friend and colleague Kevin McCarthy does decide to run, I think he'd make an outstanding majority leader.
But Pete Sessions of Texas, who chairs the House Rules Committee, has been gauging support to run against McCarthy for the majority leader position. Congressman Jeb Henserling of Texas is also considering a run for leader, or perhaps whip if McCarthy moves up to majority leader. But the chief deputy whip, Illinois Congressman Pete Roscom, wants a promotion to whip himself, and he'll likely face a challenge from Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise, who chairs the conservative Republican study group, which routinely broke ranks with GOP leaders in recent years. Some GOP rebels, including Congressman Steve King of Iowa, even want Boehner and the entire leadership team bounced. But Boehner isn't budging. His backers say he's needed for stability now, and as one aide put it, it just can't be Lord of the Flies. Cantor said he just came up short and downplayed the GOP's internal division.
The differences that we may have are slight and pale in comparison to the differences that we have with the left.
With a 95% lifetime rating from the American Conservative Union, Cantor argued that differences on the right are being exaggerated.
I would say about the Tea Party, remember what the acronym means. Taxed enough already. All of us conservatives and Republicans believe in that.
The GOP's internal upheaval and leadership election could slow down the legislative agenda. Immigration reform, which had only a slim chance to pass this year at best, is now even less likely given Bratt's attacks on Cantor for supporting what Bratt dubbed amnesty. Cantor denies supporting amnesty and helped block the Senate-passed immigration reform bill from coming to the House floor, but still said some measures are worth passing.
I've said that there's common ground at the border. There's common ground. I would like to see the issue of the kids addressed by those that didn't break any laws and come here unbeknownst to them. So again, I've always said that there should be and is common ground if we would just allow ourselves to work together.
Republicans say by scheduling their leadership election next Thursday, they can regroup quickly and keep to their legislative and election year campaign schedules. But the next week is plenty of time for the Tea Party and conservative opinion makers to weigh in on those leadership candidates. And if they don't listen, well, they better listen. Right.
All right, Carl, thank you. Cantor lost to a college professor with very little money. So what happened? Correspondent Doug McKelway looks at that from Richmond tonight.
House Majority Leader Eric Cantor cannot blame a rainy day and low turnout for his defeat. Almost 18,000 more people showed up at the polls yesterday than the primary 2 years ago. Cantor's little-known adversary, Dave Bratt, rode a wave of discontent with Washington to sail to a win.
This is the happiest moment, obviously, in my life.
And the unlikeliest of victories. Dave Bratt, an economics and ethics professor at tiny Randolph-Macon College in Virginia, was outspent by his powerful rival 25-1. But still won by a stunning 56% of the vote to Cantor's 44%.
And that's because dollars do not vote, you do. This campaign was about just basic American values and virtues right from the beginning. And the basic premise is power belongs to the people, and that's what we're going to do.
Bratt Brett may have benefited from a perfect storm of national and local concerns. Nationally, he succeeded in painting Cantor as complicit in the debt ceiling deal and a friend of immigration reform. He may have surged in the homestretch by tapping into conservative anger over the influx of Central American children now pouring into border states. Brett had little money, but a big megaphone. Conservative talk radio hosts Laura Ingraham and Mark Levin, who campaigned for him and preached Brett's message of limited government and free markets.
People are sick and tired of centralized government and the impact it has on their life, whether it's Obamacare, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce and the AFL-CIO pushing amnesty, and it is amnesty.
Locally, Cantor may have been his own undoing. On Election Day, he was in Washington, raising money, an important role for a majority leader, but it fueled simmering perceptions.
His role as majority leader took him out of the state a lot. And that was at the expense of the local units. And the voters see that.
Cantor was seen as maybe being a little more interested in national aspirations as opposed to local ones. So you sort of put all that stuff together and you could start to see how this could happen.
Despite rampant speculation that Cantor might mount a write-in campaign, he said today in his press conference that he will not be on the ballot come November. Republicans should be relieved because such a move would split the GOP vote and hand over this reliably Republican county to a Democratic congressman potentially. Brett?
Doug McKelway in Richmond. Doug, thank you. The president's Pentagon chief was not playing ball today with a suggestion from the White House Tuesday that he, not the president, made the final call on the much criticized prisoner swap involving Taliban leaders. Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel is on Capitol Hill tonight.
Hello. Hi. Good morning. At the first open hearing on the swap of 5 Taliban commanders for American soldier Bo Bergdahl, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel said the commander-in-chief made the call.
The president's decision to move forward with the transfer of these detainees was a tough call. I supported it. I stand by it.
With that, then there were questions about those given up in the deal.
Who specifically selected the particular detainees that were transferred?
The 5 detainees that were transferred have been the subject of conversation, negotiation over a period of time.
An ongoing issue has been the fear that the Taliban 5 will eventually return to terror activities or the battlefield.
We put American lives at risk to go after these individuals if they rejoin the fight.
Well, yes. You could use the same argument, Congressman, on Yemen or anywhere else.
And concerns were expressed about this deal being dangerous for American troops and civilians overseas.
The result is that somewhere in this world, this moment, that there are terrorists watching this hearing in complete jubilation.
As I've said before, our military is always at risk, especially in war.
As for Bo Bergdahl, an Army spokesperson tells Fox that he had been discharged from the Coast Guard for psychological reasons. Florida Republican Jeff Miller wanted to know why Bergdahl isn't back in the U.S. yet when seriously wounded troops are brought home quickly.
You're trying to tell me that he's being held at Landstuhl, Germany because of his medical condition?
Congressman, I hope you're not implying anything other than that.
Early on, Hagel got a lecture from the panel's top Democrat about keeping Congress out of the loop.
The law is the law. The way you challenge constitutionality is you go to court and you'd figure out whether or not the courts say it's constitutional or not. And until the courts rule on that, it is the law.
The Republican chairman said all that was necessary was basic notification.
And I don't think we would have pushed back at all. And yet, when the law is ignored, we all feel keenly the responsibilities that we have.
We could have done a better job. Could have done a better job of keeping you informed.
Some details were not revealed because they are classified, but so far lawmakers say a number of closed-door sessions after the swap haven't produced much of anything new. Brett?
Mike Emanuel live on the Hill. Mike, thank you. Up next, another Iraqi city falls to al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda-linked militants in another blow to the Obama foreign policy. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates across the country are covering tonight. Fox 12 in Portland, Oregon, with new details on yesterday's deadly school shooting in suburban Troutdale. Police say the shooter was a freshman who had an assault rifle, a handgun, and several magazines of ammunition hidden in a guitar case and duffel bag. The shooter apparently killed himself. There is no known connection between him and the 14-year-old student whom he murdered. Fox 29 in Philadelphia with a not guilty plea from a truck driver, Kevin Roper, on charges relating to that accident that critically injured comedian Tracy Morgan and killed one of his friends. And this is a live look at Miami from our affiliate down there, WSVN. Looks stormy. The big story there tonight is not the storms, a massive boa constrictor on the loose in Boca Raton. Residents say the snake keeps on popping up all over the neighborhood, in bushes and trees, even on a backyard chair. No thank you. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway. We'll be right back.